So when we look at family, what are some questions that any parent could have in their arsenal that they could ask on a daily, a weekly, kind of monthly check-in with their children or their family, their spouse? What are some of those questions that are like tools that can really help sharpen their toolkit?
Ooh, I always ask my son, like, what made you laugh today? Like, what made you laugh today? And sometimes he'll say nothing. And then I'll say something that made me laugh today, and it'll get into that. What's something new you learned? Which is a pretty cool thing, because that's one of the cool things about parenting. Like, you're literally watching them learn something new for the first time. The first time my oldest learned how to do the peace sign, and he does it in like every picture because it's like a new skill. But it's so weird just knowing that like at one point he didn't know how to do this with his hands, so he does it in everything. What's something that made you laugh? What's something new that you learned today? What's what is it? I like to do the peak and the pit of the day. Like what was the high
peak and the pit?
Yeah, the peak and the pit. Like what was the high point of the day? What was the low point of the day? And then honestly, sometimes I'll just sit with him and do stuff, and he'll just talk. Right. I think one of the struggles with being a parent, and my mom used to do this all the time. Everything was a lesson. My God. Yeah. Like, oh, you know, you better. It's this joke with black people, like, you better depress them dishes. My God. You know, like, oh my goodness, bro. Like, everything does not have to be a lesson. Sometimes I'll just do activities with him. Like, he likes coloring. So, like, I'll sit at the table and color with him, and he'll just talk about stuff, or we'll do Legos and stuff. And I think that's even harder for black families because we have, like, pay gaps, and we're over here working significantly harder. And we're providing the space for the children to have the house and to have the things, and we don't get to spend as much time with them. And they don't see it as us providing them with that space. At one point, my son was like, we didn't have milk, and he was like, oh, can we, get milk? And I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to the store, it's late. And he said, well, can't you just order the milk to come to the house? And I said, I can't just do anything, but also like, I'm not, it's like, I'm not going to order a thing of milk, just to do that. And he's like, well, just use the money card. And I said, just what? Are you okay? Like, what are you talking about? But it's also, part of that was on me because I do just like, I never talk to him. I don't talk to him as much about money. I just swipe the card. But the fact that he,
he's
just
like,
said,
use the card. Yeah.
Just use the card. Like, I think we forget that they don't really realize how much we do to like provide them with that space. But a lot of times it's not even just about like asking them things. It's really just like doing the things that they enjoy, even if you don't enjoy them. Like, even if they're not fun. Like, I don't think you have to play 50 minutes out the day or anything like that. If I don't want to do something, I will tell my son, like, I don't want to. Like, if I've colored for 20 minutes, I'm out. Like, oh, I want you to do more. And it's like, I'll do more tomorrow, but now I want to read. And I also want him to get accustomed to, like, it's not my job, especially since, he's a boy. I feel a certain, we all dated that guy who was a butthead. My biggest fear is that someone will date my boys and be like, who raised you? Because everyone's had that moment when you have dated someone and been like, who is your mother? Like, how did she raise such an awful person? And because you can't be the mom to be like, oh, well, I ain't raised my child that way. Well, who did? I would love to talk to them. He's a monster, So, like, that's, like, my biggest fear. So some of the things are very particular about, like, I want him to understand that, like, if I don't want to do something, I shouldn't just have to stop because of your comfort, right? I want him to understand that, like, everything isn't going to be about you. Like, oh, you want to keep playing? I don't want to.
Yeah.
And normalize that. But it's also about just, like, spending time with them, seeing the stuff that they like. You don't have to enjoy it 1,000%, but, like, it creates a space for them to just, like, talk. Because some of the children actually are not. I think there is a decrease in communication. Not in my house, but we also talk a lot in our house. But I think you have to think about it as, like, it doesn't always have to be a lesson. Just be there with them. And then when they randomly talk, don't make eye contact, because then they'll know that they're doing something well. You just be like, right, cool. And, and then you call your family and be like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
He told me about his day. I didn't even have to ask. Yeah. Coincidentally, I do think there's something going, I think something wrong in that school. But, like,
good for him.
Good for you. Yeah. So just be with them. Do some fun stuff with them.
You're a professor at TSU, at Tennessee State.
Yeah.
And so, although your children are not Gen Z, you work with Gen Z.
Yeah. What are they, beta?
So your students though are Gen Z.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your students are Gen Z.
They're intense. I love them. Yeah.
So I want you to talk, because there's so many parents who are trying to communicate. They're trying to learn all the They trying to learn all the hand movements. They trying
Don't
to
waste your
learn.
time. They change them every day.
They trying to learn the new text,
Yep.
little message shortenings.
Mhm.
They trying to learn all the new everything.
I don't do
trying
any of
to keep
that.
up.
No, my students call me old openly. And one thing I will say, and mind you, I'm like one of the youngest faculty members, which is insane. They're getting older, so they do have to learn, like, you know, the way they communicate. But that's something all of us had. For example, I think I told you the story about, like, there was something that they named, and I didn't know what it was. And I didn't know if it was a band or like a clothing thing. And I was like, oh, is that like a band? And they was like, oh my God, come on, Dr. Martin. And one of my favorite students, she was like, come on, y'all know she old. Y'all have to explain stuff to her. She don't know. She's old. And I was like, exactly, I am old. So just explain it to me. Now, could you do that? You can't do that with other people. Because they would be like, you know, you got to learn how to talk to people and stuff. And I'm just like, well, I'm just going to focus on the fact that we have open communication instead of the fact that you just viscerally insulted me. And I'm just going to like the fact that you can communicate with me. But like, a lot of times people will state that like they don't talk. I've never had that issue. I try to make it like a receptive space. Like I always have snacks in my office. I also don't make everything a lesson. Some things do have to be a lesson. The number of times I have to talk about substance use is absurd because they have way more access to it. So even something as simple as like, you know, you guys all know the rules with like, you know, the impact of substances. I was like, I don't need to repeat that to you, but I will need to tell you, like, you need to know who you getting stuff from. Like, a lot of people literally having a conversation, like, you know, people lace their stuff, right? So, like, you just met someone, it's a substance you use all the time, but you use that substance from someone you just met.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be an after-school special because you know the effects of it, but, like, don't smoke with everybody. Like, also, people have germs. You know how much saliva goes on? They don't really roll up their stuff anymore, but you know how much saliva goes into that thing?
Yeah.
And that man around there don't even brush his, they don't even use mouthwash. COVID. I'm like, y'all, COVID, you know? Like, so trying to like meet them on their level and have conversations with them and letting them know that their voice matters. And, you know, trying to take deep breaths through when they say something so absurd. I'm like, that sounds really dangerous. I'll come back to that. Like, no, like maybe don't get in the car with someone who you were just doing shots with in their behind. You know, but like, right, that party sounds fun. That's what's up. So just to go back, how many shots did said person have before you got into the car? Cool. So here's my number just in case you need a ride somewhere. And I always let my students know, like, you know, you have my cell phone number. Your parents don't have to be the first call, but they will be the second, you know, like, I'm not going to hide anything. But no, I love them. They're so extreme. Everything's like the end of the world.
It feels like that it's hilarious. With this new generation.
Everything's the end of the... But when you think about it, though, aren't a lot of things the end of the world, though? Like, in their mind.
If that blessed you, trust me, you've only scratched the surface. There's so much more wisdom, truth, and transformation waiting in the full conversation. Click the link in the caption below to watch the entire interview. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode of Vault Empowers Talks.